I'm not okay turning 40, and for some reason, I don't know why, but 40 just seems huge. I don't feel 40, especially mentally. I probably feel more like I'm in my mid to late 20s, to be completely honest. But body-wise, I feel like it's actually more than 40. Last year, I achieved something huge. I did my first ever full Ironman distance, and this is coming off doing my first 70.3 just a few years earlier. Now, doing a full Ironman distance is a huge commitment. It's not only a huge commitment personally, but it also impacts family and friends as well, because you are spending up to, well, I was doing something like 15 to 17 hours of training each week. And that's, could be 5 hours on the bike into a long run, and then the next day doing a long run. Swimming was my main focus. I really wanted to make sure that I was going to be okay for the swim. So it was a lot of time in the pool staring at that black line. When I got to Port Macquarie, was really excited. We did the practice swim on the Saturday, checked in the bike, got all our gear. But it was like torrentially raining whilst we were there on the Saturday. And none of the staff or none of the organisers of Ironman seemed to indicate that it wasn't going to go ahead, like it was just going to be a normal Ironman distance. But waking up that next morning, getting that email saying that the swim had been cancelled, it was truly devastating, because you put all this time and commitment and you spend a lot of money and you travel to get here, and you're allowed to do the swim the day before, the exact same swim the day before, but then on the day of the Ironman, they cancel it because of safety concerns. Doesn't make any sense. But on that day, mentally, when I woke up and I saw that email, I think that was a point where I was just, do I really want to go ahead with this? Because it's not doing a full Ironman anymore, right? It's a duathlon. You're doing a bike and a run. So I think mentally, when I started the ride, it wasn't in a great headspace. It really wasn't. I think the surrounding environment before getting on the bike, everybody's already quite negative because the swim had got cancelled, and get into your tri-suit, you got to jump on the bike. When we call out that lane where the bikes are sitting, and you got to go do your ride, and then you got to come back and you got to do your run. That was it. So on the ride, I probably should have set up my bike a lot better than what I did. So I have a felt time trial bike, and it's great. Like, it really is great. I actually bought it secondhand off Facebook Marketplace and used it for my 70.3. Well, on the bike, especially, I would say the first 100 Ks into the event, it was torrential rain. Like, it was actually torrential rain. My Rudy helmet that I had with the visor and that, it was actually quite hard. I was trying to rub the water and all the rest of it off my visor so I could see, and then it would get foggy because of the steam that was coming off. It was just, anyway, 140 kilometers, and I needed an aid station specifically for Vaseline. It was because of the heat and the humidity, also the rain. And the roads in Port Macquarie are terrible. It is bumpy as all hell, so you're constantly vibrating, and the chafe downstairs was real. So I got off at 140 at the aid station, and when I went to pick up my bike off the rack, the aero bars had come off, and that was because the roads were that bad, like I said, with the vibration, that the bolts and all the rest of it started to twist out, and when I lifted up when I lifted up my bars, it just popped off. So luckily there was another guy there who was kind enough to give me his multi-tool, and we tried to tighten the bolt as best as we possibly could, but legitimately the last 40 kilometers I was riding outside of aero, because I did not feel confident enough that when I got into aero that I wouldn't fall forward, because they weren't as tight. So last 40 kilometres of Port Macquarie, there is a famous hill called the Matthew Flinders Drive. And it was gnarly after 180 kilometres. It was absolutely gnarly. But getting back and then starting the run, again, so proud of myself. This was the very first time I was doing my first marathon. And that seems to be the common theme with me when I do these type of events, right? When I did my first 70.3, that was my first half Ironman distance, but it was also my first half marathon. Hadn't run a marathon, hadn't run half a marathon up until that point. Then on my Ironman, it was my first time doing a full marathon distance on the run. Crossing that line and hearing you are an Ironman felt a little bit disingenuous, to be completely honest with you. But then afterwards, I just started feeling very, very, very unwell. And after being quite ill multiple times, roughly around about like 5:36 in the morning, ended up calling an ambulance because what I was bringing up was now blood. And I was pretty concerned that I had done something internally somehow, but I hadn't had a fall or a break, so I thought that it was just overexertion. When I got to the hospital, they had let me know that I had rhabdo. And rhabdo comes from overexertion over a long time, and basically your kidneys just start to shut down. So what I was throwing up was actually blood, which wasn't great. So I spent about a day and a half in Port Macquarie Hospital, and then we drove back home. And, you know, jumped back into High Rocks, did a High Rocks event. Actually, I think we did a few High Rocks events. Actually jumped back into a little bit of CrossFit, and then, I don't know, started thinking about turning 40.